I must say that when I see all the faces, I know now why I didn't retire. Because how can anybody retire from a passion? I don't know.
Our economy and the gender inequality will catch up. As a brand, we better be prepared for that.
Last time I saw you, you were actually talking about watches that belong to your father.
Yeah, this is all your fault.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah.
I said it in the video and in my intro.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up, but this is all your fault. I didn't care about watches until you guys put all these videos gaming the algorithm.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I was at Syracuse when this man led the Orangemen back then, to the national championship. This guy was the Beatles in Syracuse, New York. He was John Lennon back then, and still is, for the record. And we're so happy to have you here. This is a full circle moment for me, as being a fan for so many years. But thank you for coming.
No,
here.
this is amazing. I'm ready to cover my watch over here. I didn't know what type of room I was stepping into today.
This is a serious room.
I
can't
see
lie.
that. I see that. But it's an honor to be in front of a crowd like this and just to sit here and have a good conversation.
Absolutely. So tell us about the watch you're wearing. So AP Royal Oak Offshore.
Yeah, AP Royal Oak Offshore, the Volcano.
Yep.
I had it in my vault, in my safe for years.
Yeah.
It was just one that today was like, we just wear that one.
It's the day.
Yeah, it was just, actually it was a gift. It was a gift. It was my welcome to New York gift from Swiss Beats, actually.
No kidding.
So French Swiss and Francois at AP did a great job of inviting me or welcoming me to New York with an AP. So it was special to me, I can say that.
That's a little bit different than how I came to New York. I can tell you that. Yeah. So how did you first? Obviously, when you went into the NBA, all of a sudden you were exposed to things you weren't exposed to before. But how did watches kind of enter your life?
Well, watches was always a part of my life. When I got into the NBA and just started traveling and listening and observing and trying to understand what's happening out here in the luxury world, then timepieces became my love, because I started to understand the craftsmanship and started to deep dive into what it takes to make just one piece of the timepiece. And I started to separate the two, timepieces from watches. Mm-hmm. And that was my way of really, showing an appreciation of just, artistry, the craftsmanship, being able to go see some of these watchmakers, and really having a great appreciation for the amount of time and the work that one person puts into the craft. So that was my time.
So when you first joined the league, what was the first watch that you really wanted and then bought yourself?
Oh man, I think when I first got to the league, it was like, diamond watches. It was big Breitlings with flooded Breitlings with diamonds and U-boats, and it was those were the watches at that point in time, until I bought my first Rolex. Yeah. And when I bought my first Rolex, that's when I felt like, okay, I'm here. Like this feels different. Like you have a different aura, you have a different swag when you get your first Rolex and put that on your wrist.
And where'd you get it?
In Denver. I was in Denver. I think one of the Rolex stores in Denver, Colorado. Again, this was like 2004. Yeah. And then I promised my team at this point in time. I said, listen, you guys just won 18 games the year before. If we make the playoffs, I get everybody a Rolex. And it came down to the last game of the season. So we wound up winning the game and making it to the playoffs. So I tried to scoot on by like I didn't know, like I forgot. But I had to deliver 12 Rolexes to my team. But it was worth it. I would say it was worth it.
That's amazing. And did you go back to the same store in Denver for that?
I did. I just was like, look, I need help. I need some help. I need 12 Rolexes. Listen, here's the budget.
Yeah.
And we went from there. And if we didn't make the playoffs, they was going right back. So.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so how did you first meet, you can just say his first name and everybody knows exactly who you're talking about, Francois.
Yeah.
Right. So we did actually did his last interview ever when he was in office, and we did Talking Watches with Francois last December. You know, a total legend of everything, right? Knows everybody. How did you first run into Francois and AP?
I think at this time it was just certain people in certain industries. When I came to the New York Knicks, that you just had to meet, and excuse me, and Francois was the guy in this watch industry that you just had to meet.
Yeah.
And again, I had my welcome to the kind of New York dinner, and Francois did Swiss Beats and Francois did a hell of a job of just putting curating what that was going to be. And at that moment, I really was like, okay, let me start diving more into not just spending money on buying watches, but really understanding this watch industry.
Yeah. And is the relationship with Francois still there, or is he?
It will always be there. I think that's just over time you kind of just grow, and he's growing, he's here and he's there. But overall, it's just certain people that no matter what, you will always be in sync with every time you see that person.
Yeah. And for a while, I think you were working with IWC for a little bit as well.
Yeah, I was working. I went to IWC because I fell in love with the brand a long time ago.
Yeah.
And my peers, we were young, and they like, what you wearing IWC for? What's IWC? There's no diamonds in this one, buddy.
Yeah.
So it was, that was my way of kind of like when not following the trends and when guys were going certain ways, I was really going into, again, the timepiece kind of era of understanding what was happening. So I went to IWC. I fell in love with the brand. They Big Pilots was something that I was always a fan of. And then they did the Muhammad Ali edition.
Yeah.
So that was the Big Pilot. So because of that, my love for Ali, I had to, step up with IWC.
I was actually at that event, believe it or not.
You
Muhammad
was.
Ali.
You was. Yes, you was.
I was there.
You was.
That was a while back. But IWC is a brand that really has a lot of love in the greater kind of world, but isn't one that is on the forefront, right? Like now it's AP, it's Rolex, it's Patek, it's all those. Why do you think that is with IWC?
One thing about that, I think IWC is very nostalgic. It's very consistent. So when the trends go up and down and they fall and they come back and they go into that cycle, somebody like IWC is always very consistent across the board. So they don't go with the trends. It's for me, it's like I feel very nostalgic when I have an IWC on. I feel like I'm like separated from the pack of everybody else and what you go into a room and what everybody else will have when they wrist.
Yeah. And who in the league is really into watches? Like who is the watch guy? And in the music world, it's Jay-Z and John Mayer, right? Like we all know Jay-Z and John Mayer are big into it. Who is it in the league?
I think everybody kind of have their lane when it comes to just luxury things, right? Whether it's wine, watches, whatever it may be. I think everybody has their lane. I mean, when you're making $50 million a year and $60 million a year, everybody is a watch collector at that point. So you can go buy whatever watch that you want. So for me, it was just more like I always wanted to curate kind of what was in my watch case.
Yeah. And so what's exciting you these days?
Man. I just saw, actually right before I came in, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this. She'd probably be mad at me. But
it's okay.
I just saw this Vacheron Constantine watch that just hit the store at this very moment when I was walking in here. I didn't even have a chance to get the name of it. She was just on FaceTime and she was showing me, and I was like, I gotta go. Hodinkee's in there, he waiting on me. Yeah. But I'll call you back after this to see to see the video. But that was one that I was really like, oh, you caught my attention with that.
So you're that into it. So you're getting calls from salespeople when new stuff comes in, and
I try to manage my relationships. I try to keep a network going with people that's in those specific industries, because I'm a student too. Like I still like to learn about it. I still like to see what people wear. It's a conversational piece, right?
Yeah.
Like wine too. Like what you drinking? What's in your glass? And it's the same type of energy when it comes to watches and timepieces.
Yeah, and what is it about watches that you think? I mean, beyond the cost, right? Like that's obvious. Like there's expensive stuff everywhere. Beyond the cost, what is it about watches that makes you so excited by it? By so many other players excited by it? Is it the mechanics? Is it the culture around it? Is it the videos? Is it what is it exactly?
I think for different people, it's different reasons. For some people, it could be the culture. For some people, it could be trends. For some people, it could be the mechanics. It varies depending on who you really asking. For me, it's what a timepiece and a watch do for me. It says something without me even saying anything, right? It already sets the tone of kind of your aura, where you at, what you're doing. I cannot even talk to you or speak to you, and I can look at your wrist and understand what type of energy that you actually have, depending on the timepiece that's on your wrist. So. That's the way that's how I observe the industry, but it's the accessory that you need.
Yeah.
You know, it's the one accessory that I think everybody needs.
Yeah.
I feel bad when I don't wear a watch.
Me too.
And sometimes
me too.
I just be like, I don't want to wear a watch, and then I get out, I'm like, damn, I feel a little light over here.
Yeah.
But it's you have to have a watch.
Yeah. And so you're wearing the offshore today. I'm just curious, what else is in the constant rotation of your collection? Like, what are you going to wear tomorrow?
Well, I wear the same watch every single day. I wear my my gold, rose gold Rolex with the green dial. I'm sorry. I wear that every single day.
Yeah. And what is it about that watch that you love so much?
It's simple. It's easy. Again, it's a statement. You know, when you see that watch, okay, it's like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
You got the green face. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it sets a tone and it tells a story without you having to say anything.
Yeah. And so you got a call from Vacheron right before you came in here.
Yeah.
What other brands are kind of on your radar?
I mean, I still love IWC.
Yeah.
Like I still love IWC. I mean, I'm gonna always love AP.
Have you done Patek yet?
So I have my Nautilus. I have what's 5980 Nautilus. But yeah, those are like, you don't want to wear those every day.
Yeah.
You know, those make you feel like Superman when you put a Patek Philippe on. Yeah, but those are still the actual brands.
Yeah.
If I had to wear one brand every single day, probably be Patek Philippe.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fair statement for sure. So what exactly do you look for, in things like, do you look at the investment in watches, or is it more just for fun for you?
No, I was yes, to answer your question, yes, but I was in the car looking at my watches and what's going on, because I haven't checked them out in a long time. And I'm like, okay, let me go over here and see. I'm going into a watch community right now. Let me just see what's happening in the watch world.
Yeah.
And I went back through, kind of my black book and just seeing, and yeah, we're doing okay.
You're doing okay? We're doing okay. What is it about the idea of watches is so kind of, look, to me, obviously very special, but I think to most people in this room, I mean, I was telling a story earlier that I got a call from the watchmaker of this watch before my son was born, like literally right before. Mm-hmm. Do you have any watches that mean something to you that are really, really personal that you can share?
Oh, man. I mean, this was special because it was the type of gift and why, the reason behind it.
Yeah.
Welcome to New York. It was a gift. My LeBron James Audemars.
Yeah.
Is a special gift from him.
No kidding.
So that was, that was special. I mean, as far as like what they mean, like those probably was the only two that Muhammad Ali IWC means. Mm-hmm. Means a lot to me. I was able to get number 7 of the collection, so it was a beautiful thing that I was able to get that. Yeah.
So LeBron gave you LeBron AP.
He better have. I mean, what we talking about? I mean, if I had one, if I designed a watch, you was getting the first one.
Yeah.
That's just how I am. But I received it. Yes, I received it. It wasn't number 7.
Yeah. Are you in touch with LeBron often these days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We communicate.
Yeah. It's an again full circle moment for me being on stage with you, because it was such a meaningful moment for me when I was at Syracuse, seeing you do what you do. So I know we have a lot of fans in the audience here, so I want to kick it out to the audience to ask any question you want of Carmelo Anthony. We got one over there.
Hey, Carmelo, thank you. Again, I think a lot of us in here, with especially modern day watches, the size of a watch is an important question, and you obviously being a large guy. All the brands that you've rattled off so far, IWC and AP, Patek, et cetera, are known for the larger millimeters. Is there a certain size that you will know, hey, I'm not going to wear anything under 40 millimeters because it just doesn't look right on my wrist, versus 42, 43 millimeters being sort of the norm?
No, I think it just depends on like where I'm going. I mean, I have a square, rectangle, small, Constantine that I have, suit, kind of suit watch. But yeah, it just depends, and that's like super tiny, right? You put that on, especially on my wrist. It's like you can't even. It looks like a rubber band on my wrist. But the fact of the matter is, it really depends on what I'm doing and where I'm going. The size of the watch, that's more like, if I'm going and really dressing up and stepping out and going to a gala or an event, like that's more of that type of vibe. But yeah, I mean, it depends. It varies.
First of all, I just want to say I was 9 when you got drafted, growing up in Detroit, and I really thought we were about to get you, and I still haven't forgave the franchise for that. But Keon's...
We forgive.
Yeah. Keon's coming up on hopefully almost being in the league. Have you thought about what watch you want to get him? Is he into it? Have you started to think about some of that?
What his first watch would be for me?
Yep.
It would be something that he can like really keep and cherish and like have value to it. I mean, hopefully, God's willing, he would be able to go out there and buy his own watches. But the watch that I'm going to get you, you may not be able to wear this every single day, because I want you to keep that in the safe and only bring that out if you have to. Not when you have to, if you have to. But yeah, it'll be something very thoughtful, something that's very curated in the sense of, looking at it from a big picture and like what this timepiece really means.
Thanks so much, Carmelo. You mentioned earlier that when everyone's making $50 million a year, everyone can be a watch collector. I'm sort of related to that. I'm curious, how difficult is it for you to not buy things you're interested in?
That's a hell of a question.
That's a great question. Yeah.
It's actually easier for me now, because I can really kind of streamline and like be intentional on the things that I really want and the things that I want to spend my resources on, right? And I think now I'm all about something with meaning and something that has to mean something to me, whether it's a watch, whether it's an art piece, whatever it may be. It has to mean something to me at this point. But yeah, I'm very intentional at this point in my life. So whatever it may be, it's going to be intentional.
How you doing? Thank you for coming. I want to ask, how do you go about picking what timepiece you will add to your collection? Is there a scheme? Is there a rhyme or reason? Like, how does that come together to be like, this is going indefinitely in my collection?
Oh, man, collections is, when you talk about collections, those are real pieces, right? Like, I have watches that, just is part of the crew, right? And then I have a collection that I actually collect, an IWC skeleton. Like, these are like items that I actually collect. So it again, it has to be very intentional on me stepping out there and purchasing something or identifying something that I want in part of this ecosystem, and not just going to purchase something just because. So it has to feel a part of this ecosystem. I have to be in that, whatever energy and at that moment that I'm in, I have to feel it. I have to have that connection with that timepiece. So, I mean, honestly, I haven't bought a timepiece and watch in probably 5 years.
Wow.
Right, but it was just like because I haven't really been connected to nothing that's really out there. So when I get that call today, it's like holy shit, like okay, you're talking to me now. But I've seen some other ones over the past couple months that I'm eyeing and looking at. But again, I also look at markets. I also look at trends and see what's happening, who's falling, who's rising, who's staying the same, who's consistent. Who's getting better, right? Who's being innovative and creative. So I know I'm sounding like very tedious. It's a very tedious moment in time when I'm trying to pick the next piece to go in my collection.
It stands to reason most of the people in this room are watch collectors. As you know, people that tend to collect one thing, they tend to collect other things. And so there are other categories where you're a connoisseur, whether it's art, wine, cigars, right? Just curious to know if there's an ethos or a philosophy that informs your approach to collecting more holistically, irrespective of the category.
Yes, to me it's a mindset, right? It's when in doubt, stay mellow, right? It's at the end of the day, and that's my mantra, right? And it goes across all genres and all categories, whether it's watches, whether it's cigars, whether it's wine, whether it's cars, whatever it is. I like to enjoy the luxury things of life, right? It's just something about craftsmanship that I actually enjoy. It's not that's not an arrogant statement. That's just I love elevated things. I love craftsmanship. I love to see small details in watches and in bags and in cars and cigars and in wine and everything. So those worlds all collide. They all come together anyway. You can do one and have all of them there at the same time. We could be in here talking about watches, upstairs drinking wine, talking about art. Art is in the background, fashion, like everything is curated. So if I'm going to be in that space, if I'm already kind of in that space and been in that space, then I'd rather keep staying in that space where I could curate these moments and, curate times like this. We have real conversations and we kind of formulate communities and build communities and have conversation and dialogue. That's where I'm at right now. So if the watches that the young man is talking about, what am I eyeing? If it doesn't fit into that ecosystem, then it's not worth it.
Non-watch related question, is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, so you've been hugely successful, Syracuse, the NBA, the Olympics. I'm a big fan of a college basketball school that has gotten close but no cigar, Gonzaga. And we've wanted for years to get over the hump. You've obviously gotten over the hump throughout stages of your career. To you, what is that missing element or that extra element that has helped you get from almost there to over the top, and how would you define that?
Well,
I got to tell my Zag friends.
Yeah, I don't have no hard. There's no hard filler to the Zags, other than let's get to another conference. Like let's figure that out first. But as far as like being able to tap into something to get you to that next level, I think somebody like Gonzaga has always been knocking at the door. They've been there. We see them every year. We see them tournament time. We see them, preseason tournaments, and they out west, right? And I think they get the short end of the stick. They get bad seeding when the tournament time come. It's a lot of things that goes wrong for Gonzaga being out there all the way out there out west in that location. With that being said, we talk about trends. We talk about ups and downs. We talk about who's here today and going tomorrow. Gonzaga is that IWC I'm talking about. They always consistent across the board. Like every year they're gonna be there. No matter who's hotter, who's not, they always gonna be very consistent. So with that, hopefully one day it'll happen. But you have to stay consistent. You have to continue to put the work in. You can't have that type of mentality, we just getting there and, on to the next. It's like, nah, we're going to continue to build this and see what happens. But good luck to you guys this year. I like the triple tourbillon. I'm a triple tourbillon guy.
Normal
I know that's
stuff,
like
yeah.
that's like dreams though. That's like I just love the complications. I don't have a triple tourbillon, but I just love the mechanics when it comes to that. I also like single tourbillons. Like I just think there's so much else you can do when it's just one tourbillon in there. But yeah, if I had to say, it would be definitely a tourbillon watch for sure. I tried.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. A quick story. So when I first came to New York, and I was into the watch market, and like I'm going around, I'm having conversations, and at this time, Richard Mille is like, it's like one here. It's like a couple people had him.
Mm-hmm.
So I go to him and I say, listen, let's do a deal. I'll wear the watch into the arena. I'll wear it on the bench working out. I'll wear it warming up. But after, during the game, I'll take it off and sit it on the table so we can get all the publicity that we really want. Yeah. And at this point in time, it's like, no, we need you to wear this. We need you to wear the watch in the game.
And the league doesn't allow that.
And the league doesn't allow that.
Yeah.
So fast forward to now, I just saw that they signed a basketball player or some shit like that. So sometimes you can't, you got to be ahead of the game. And, the moral of the story is, to keep your vision no matter what, right? Even when somebody else doesn't see it, you got to keep going.
Non-watch related question as well. One of my favorite moments from the Olympics was watching you on the sideline supporting Team USA. Could you sort of describe what it was like being in Paris in that arena, especially for the final against France?
Well, I felt the same way that, we all was watching the Olympics. I felt the same way that you guys felt as a fan, because I didn't have to compete. I didn't have to study. I didn't have to look at a scout report. I didn't have to do none of that. So I can just be a fan of the sport, a fan of the skill and the talent, but also be a fan of guys that I've played on the same team with, I've won gold medals with, competed against 17, 18 seasons. Like, I get a chance to, that's my way of showing appreciation as a fan. Because for so long, you can't be a fan. Like, you got to be a closet fan. Like, you got to cheer for guys, in your own house, and you can't, it's not accepted. So when you keep that and you got to compete against these guys, in my case, almost 2 decades, now I can just exhale and just be a fan and enjoy Steph Curry for what he really does, and KD for what he really does, and LeBron for who he really is. Like, I can appreciate that and accept that now as a fan. And they see that. They feel that. It's the same sentiment for them to see me on the sideline as a fan, knowing that I've been in those wars with them before, and in those type of situations. It's a mutual sentiment that we have.
So I'll ask one final question. What does life look like for you after basketball? Do you have any idea, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. Right now, I'm actually trying to organize my business structure, my business strategy. I have a wine company, Venice 7th Estate. This fall, we'll be launching 6 wines. Wow. This year out of the estate, based out of France, based out of Châteauneuf-du-Pape. I have a cigar line coming out, but like a very curated, cigar line that's coming out. I'm in private equity. I'm raising funds. I'm investing, raising kids.
Yeah.
You're busy. It's fun though. It's to be on this side of it, and it's not something that I just started to do, so I think that's why it was easy for me to transition to this side of it and be that fan in Paris, because this has been kind of structured and strategized for the past 6 to 7 years. So now that I'm out, I can really just act upon all of those things all of those seeds that I planted.
Yeah, amazing. Well,
so we
You're
got
doing okay.
production companies too. We got film coming out, a TV series coming out over the next 12 months.
Do you really?
Yeah.
What's it about, if you could share?
My partners would kill me. That's the part of the game I don't like. Because I want to engage. I want to share. But yeah, we have some Creative 7 Productions films. We have a slew of projects that's coming out. Sports, history, real, true stories about overcoming adversity, and whether it's individuals, whether it's places, conversation. But yeah, I'm just working. I say I'm building. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm enjoying building my vision, and my team enjoys building it with me too, because they understand what we actually really trying to do.
That's amazing. Guys, thank you so much. Carmelo Anthony.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.